Ladies and gentlemen, my guest at this time is a former WWE Cruiserweight Champion, former Impact Wrestling X Division Champion, TJ Perkins. How you doing, bud? Welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me back. I appreciate it. How's your day going?
It's okay, man. You know, in California, we got the wildfires going on, so it's daylight, but
Yeah.
not really. Like it's like a dark orange tent over like the sky. It's so weird. It's felt like
Yeah.
nighttime all day.
I do like that a, it's starting to be a little bit less blistering hot out on the West Coast now, so like I feel like fall is finally approaching. We were chasing an endless summer for for the longest time.
We were. So, I mean, you're currently living in California now. I thought you were living in Florida.
No, Vegas actually. And
Oh,
I go
okay.
back and forth between LA and Vegas. Yeah.
All right. That's what's up, dude.
Yeah.
So, the big question is like, how you been during quarantine, man? Like, what's been going on? I know you've been back with Impact. We're gonna get into that
Um
stuff.
I mean, everything is for me has been fairly normal. I mean, I don't really get out much anyway, but like my house is here in Vegas, and we didn't really have too strict of anything going on, and I've been traveling a lot. Like I haven't really stopped traveling since March. So I'll go back and forth to Florida a lot, Tennessee obviously for Impact. I'll go back and forth to LA a lot. And then last few months, New Japan has been taping a lot of their USA based shows. So the roster's split in half right now. Half the guys are stuck in Japan, half the guys are stuck in the US. So they've been doing a lot of their stuff through Los Angeles. So yeah, I've been traveling pretty frequently anyway.
Yeah, it's nice to see that you're keeping busy, man. So, one of the things I really want to get into is your Twitch channel, and it's been announced by WWE that they're putting a ban on like all third-party platforms. So, just kind of talk about your Twitch channel, what you do there, and then what are your thoughts on the ban?
Um, well, I mean, my my channel had been like sitting dormant for a while. I didn't really realize that when I first was streaming, that it was sort of like in the beginning of the platform, and I was just doing it just to do it. But I ended up getting like a pretty good following on there. But I was doing it kind of casually. I didn't really have any bells and whistles set up or anything. It wasn't really like produced. It was just a cool place and like a safe haven for fans to come and like meet other people in the chat, ask Q&A questions, watch some gameplay, things like that. And then there was a couple years where I wasn't streaming that much, and then it was like some buddies of mine who are like into like streaming like as like part-time professionals. They're like, dude, like sell us your page. I was like, what are you talking about? And they're like, you have like such a good following, you don't even like stream that much anymore. And so like I've been trying to get back into it, mostly because people have been asking me to do it. So I'm happy to do it. But now I'm gonna get set up with better equipment and stuff, so guys will have a better channel to watch. But everybody can find that at Mega TJP. So if you're already following, I appreciate it. And yeah, the new, I mean, I would say new regulations, but I mean that's not really new. It's just Twitches and third party platforms like that are like the flavor of the month for it, I guess. But that's sort of like ideology has been around for years, not just in WWE, but just in any wrestling company in general.
Yeah, well, we've seen news come out to where they can keep them, they just can't use like their WWE names,
Yeah,
so to speak. But I mean, there are a couple guys like an AJ Styles where like he's owned that trademark for like his whole career, So
right.
I've just kind of
Yeah.
found it odd. There are people that are like super against WWE for doing that. Then there are people kind of okay with WWE doing that. What's your take on it, really?
So the thing about it is, and again, it's not really even just a WWE thing. Every wrestling company is like this, and they operate in this middle ground where, um, and WWE is just has sort of they take a deeper dive into what they can explore with this ideology, but they all have the same ideology: is that we're this weird middle ground. We're not quite professional athletes, like a team sport athlete. Like we are, but then we're television actors as well. And they like to tiptoe the line and they jump back and forth depending on what they want to get out of you in a way. And I don't want this to before I continue, I don't want it to sound like like a sour take on it. It's just the nature of the business, you know. I completely understand it. I'm an opponent of it because I'm the performer, but it's not something that I think, oh, we need to abolish it or whatever. I get it. I mean, it's a jungle. They're always gonna. That's one of those things that we're always gonna oppose each other on. You know, that's why like in the NBA, NFL, all these things, there's players unions and stuff like that. There's CBAs. In entertainment, there's like Screen Actors Guild, stuff like that. You know, that's just the nature of it. But the way that the ideology is sort of like odd because we're in this gray area, and in this case what they really want is they don't really want to prevent performers from having these things. They kind of have to accomplish what they're trying to do, but it's not that they're really trying to attack the performer. What they really want to do is block any third parties from making money off of what they consider as their IP. And the thing is, they in WWE's case, they'll view a guy like me or whoever like, okay, this is Spider-Man. We're trying to sell Spider-Man. Therefore, you can't be selling Spider-Man to other people because that's our IP to license to these third parties, like a Hot Topic, like a Walmart, like a whatever the case may be, 2K games, something like that. And in that case, it makes sense. But the difference is that like Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, like all these guys, like they are like Tobey Maguire is Tobey Maguire. You know what I mean? He's not Spider-Man. He works for Sony to be Spider-Man, and it's like, okay, like you're going to license Spider-Man, but Tobey Maguire is going to go do Tobey Maguire stuff, you know, and you're not going to stop him from doing that. But see, when we are performing, most of us, a majority of us, are performing as our actual selves, or we're portraying ourselves. So that IP, it's up for debate. Like, does that IP really belong to the company, or does that IP belong to me? Like in my case, I've always been TJ Perkins, always. Like I've had like mask characters and stuff like that, but when I'm just as is like this, I've never been like, you know, Teddy Storm or some kind of crazy thing. Like I've always been TJ Perkins, TJP. Those are my initials. That's my name. That's on my birth certificate. Um, and so where that IP belongs, who knows? But I mean, in reality, it's just not the same as what they're trying to pass it off as. The thing is, though, when you present the idea, like if me as a performer, if I were to say, okay, you know, you can sell my character, whatever I'm portraying, treat me like Batman, Spider-Man, Joker, whatever you want to do, and make money off me, third party, and that's fine. But allow me to work for other studios and make other movies like an actor would do, you know? Like Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool, but he's going to do an action movie with Samuel L. Jackson too. He's going to do, you know, a rom-com. He's going to do this and that. And Marvel's not going to stop him from doing that because they don't own Ryan Reynolds. They own Deadpool or Fox, you know, in this case. But when you say that, they're like, well, no. You're like a team sport athlete. You're like LeBron James. You know, you play for our team and our team only. That's it. But it's like, okay, but LeBron James, the Lakers don't own the name LeBron James. LeBron owns it, and he rented it out to Nike for $1 billion. So we should be able to rent out our IP then. So you can own us, or you can own the IP. You can't own both. Like that's where it goes back and forth. And they for the most part, again, all companies are the same way, and all companies are hoping that performers are just stupid enough to not understand that they're being played on both ends. And most performers are. Like, to be honest, like that's, I've said it a million times. That's on us. Like we sign bad deals all the time, and every contract is bad, every single one. Like that, and anybody, a lot of the guys, they get it reviewed by lawyers and stuff to do it the right way. Every time, I've seen it a million times. Somebody's lawyer who doesn't work specifically for wrestling, they look over this wrestling contract, and in comparison to athletes, actors, businessmen of all kinds, they're like, this is a terrible deal. Like, this is stupid. They laugh in our faces, and the wrestlers sign it anyway because they just want to put the uniform on so bad. And I think that's really what the problem is, as far as like on our end, is like, you can't, when it's a career, you can't want it like that. You can't let the logo trick you, you know? But that's really what it is they tiptoe back and forth, whether it's, treating us like actors or athletes. It can't be both.
Well, that was very elaborately said. I love it, dude. So let's get into the topic of like IPs, copyrights, trademarks, real quick. So, I mean, your legal name is TJ Perkins. You've wrestled
Yeah.
as TJ Perkins, TJP in WWE and other places.
Mhm.
So, I mean, did you have to like copyright, trademark that as well, or did you just leave it alone?
So, I mean, and again, I'm no legal expert. Um, I've spoken with people who are lawyers by trade and by career, and some have been super like, it's almost like they operate on paranoia. Anything that can happen will happen. So, oh, you could lose your name, you could lose this, and if you don't trade, And then others are like, no, they have a different, more kind of grounded, rational take on it. I mean, or so it seems. And then some others are more laissez-faire about it, and they're like, don't worry about it because certain precedents have already been set for this, this, and this. And so one thing that I was told, because I explored like, do I need to copyright my name? And I was told, and this goes more than just your legal name, but like other stuff too. Like if you're ever brought to court, I believe, what I'm told, if you've already used something creatively in a professional manner, or if you've, especially if you've done it on a big platform and made money off of it in a very public way, um, like you can't be taken to court and lose that to somebody without like a copyright. Like for example, if I don't know, whatever it, in my case, it's my real name, but like I was wrestling for years as TJ Perkins everywhere, and it's very public. It's very easy to find. It's very easily presented. If it was me versus, I don't know, like a big company like a WWE or something like that, not that they couldn't try to fight you over that and try to like retroactively copyright your name or certain things that you've done. But if you've already done it, then it's hard for them to win that case because it's very provable that it's not their work. It's not something they created, and it existed and was already being used for financial reasons well before they came into the picture. So it's a hassle, but in a lot of ways, I don't think you have to be super careful. What the difficult thing is when you create something individually when you're already working together, then you have to really protect it because who's to say who really created that? If I'm already if I'm already on Monday Night Raw and like I was on Monday Night Raw for like 3 years, during that time, if I would have named something or created something, it's just my word against theirs that we were both sitting in a room somewhere and either the office made it or I did. Who knows? So in that case, that's really what the people would have to worry about, I think. But I mean, I could be totally wrong about that. I mean, but as far as I know, they can't just like retroactively take your God-given name that your mom and dad gave you. So,
Well, that's a funny thing because you look at a guy like Cody Rhodes, where it's legally been his last name since he was like 15, 16, 17, 18 years old, and he can't use the last name Rhodes. So that's why he's been Cody since he left the company. You know,
well, I'm not totally, I mean, again, I could be wrong. I know Cody, but not that well, but I wasn't sure that that was actually his full legal name prior to that. And and he wasn't really a wrestler before WWE. So in that case, them saying, well, Cody wrote that battle is hard for Cody because they met, his career kind of started with this big organization, and that is the inception of that name from an entertainment creative standpoint, because obviously like the family name is Runnels. So um and again, I don't know him personally, so I don't know if like it wasn't that case, but I think that's really what the argument is that like that was already a stage name and it was licensed by the a company that's, I guess, holding it hostage, which sucks. It's terrible. But I think there's other examples too, though, of other performers who like came up like, say, like the 90s generation, like superstar performers, and they never copyrighted or licensed or never trademarked, their IP and their name or whatever, went to WWE. And I think WWE did end up filing for copyrights and got everything approved. And then when those wrestlers left, they were still able to use those names. And I think it's because like WWE doesn't chase that sort of thing so hard because they sort of cut a corner by getting that IP. Like nobody's fact checking them necessarily. I mean, when you file for a trademark, they're not fact checking that thoroughly. Like the patent office or whatever the case is, they're just checking to see if it's already in their database. If it's not in there, then okay, they'll let you buy it. But if like a Rey Mysterio was like, hey, I've been Rey Mysterio for 20 years or whatever before I got to, or 10 years before I got to WWE, and WWE, well, I trademarked it. Well, Mysterio kind of has a pretty good case that like, well, I created like this existed well before you came into the picture. So even though they can get the copyright or whatever approved, that's still, I think, a battle that can be fought. So sometimes they'll just let guys continue to use that stuff because they know that that's a battle they might not win.
Wow, trademarking is fascinating, ladies and gentlemen. But I mean, you've had influence in the WWE locker room with pet pigs, which
Yeah,
I find absolutely fascinating. Like you see on Total Divas, Alexa Bliss gets a pet pig, Larry Steve. I'm like, oh, that's
yeah,
interesting. But you were the founding father of it, bro. What
was yeah.
Doctor Pugsley and all these others. So how many pet pigs do you have, and what possessed you to get pigs as pets?
Just I only have two. Cupcake is the girl; she's the older one. Pugsley's the boy; he's the younger one. And uh, I mainly it was like my significant other at the time was just like always home alone. I was traveling a lot, and I've been traveling for years, so that's like tough on like family and loved ones and stuff at home. And I didn't, I've never really actually been a pet person like until recently, and never had. I had like one dog when I was a kid and didn't know how to take care of it. I think my parents ended up having to give it away. Um, and I just was never really a pet person, and so the idea of having a pet, I was like, well, I don't have the energy or the or the time to deal with like a dog or like something that requires a lot of attention. I'm just too tired when I get off the road and I have to train and do all this stuff, especially at the time. Like WWE, like that schedule was pretty hectic. And so basically what it came down to was like I need something that's hypoallergenic, kind of low energy, a lazy, kind of frumpy, like pet. And we researched mini pigs, and it turned out that they're like this great. They check all those boxes, and I've loved it. They're so smart. They're like the second smartest animal, like amongst like a certain like bracket or maybe overall or something like that. So they get to about the intelligence of like a 3-year-old like toddler, kind of like they can kind of have conversations with me like with their own little like distinct like snorts and noises they make. um and yeah, they're great companions, and they're like they're it's like having children, so.
That's what's up, dude. They running around right now?
Yeah, actually, I don't know if you could pick it up sometimes on my headphones with the boys demanding their lunch early. They're really great at telling time. Like they know exactly what time it's time for them to eat. And they eat just like a human, like 3 meals, 3 square meals a day, and whatever in between. They know exactly when it's bedtime, when it's breakfast, lunch, dinner. Like I can set my clock to it. Like they'll start talking and yelling, like, "Hey, it's time to eat, Dad."
That's awesome, dude. I'd look into it, but I had a traumatic experience with the pig once, so. Dude, man, quick story. I was in kindergarten. I was like 5 years old, and my teacher had a pet pig, and she brought the pig to class, and it chased me around the classroom. I'm like, oh no. I had to like transfer schools. I was like, oh no.
Yeah, my significant other now, Aria Blake. For wrestling fans, they might know her from MLW and the Independents. And Aria, when she was a little kid, she has a picture of her like cowering in total fear of like this pig. It's one of her like baby pictures or like toddler pictures, and we get a kick out of it because she's such an animal person. Now like she's big dog person, especially dogs are her favorite, and she loves the pigs and stuff like that. So but yeah, it's that's funny.
Yeah. So I was watching an interview you did with I think it was Alicia Toot from Ambi, and
Mm.
you're quite the connoisseur of frozen pizza and Sour Patch Kids.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, pizza of any kind, but I'll definitely stock up on frozen pizza, and then order accordingly whenever I want like something fresh. But But yeah, and Sour Patch, that's my jam, man. That's my number one for candy.
So with Sour Patch, is it like just the candy, or are you doing the? I know they have ice cream. I've tried it. I know they have soda. Like, do you dabble in that too?
I haven't tried the soda. I've had the popsicles and the ice cream. I like the ice cream. Popsicles were just it was like a popsicle, but the ice cream is great. I like it. For people that like I grew up on Dairy Queen. Like when I was younger, that was like a spot to go to pretty regularly, and it reminds me of like the Mr. Misty float, like the like super vanilla ice cream, like not even like that like golden like French vanilla. I mean, it's like like paper white, like vanilla, like right out of the dispenser. And then like the different Sour Patch mixed in is kind of like the slush flavor. So it reminds me of Dairy Queen a little bit. And then the Ghost supplement company licenses a bunch of name brand for like flavors, like their proteins are like Chips Ahoy, Nutter Butter, stuff like that, like just snack foods. And one of their pre-workouts is red Sour Patch, so I also use that for my caffeine usually. So I got a lot of Sour Patch in my
That's awesome, dude. What's the
life.
go-to topping for pizza?
Let's see. Well, most of the time Aria is the boss, so she likes white pizza, so usually we'll get like the Alfredo sauce, cheese, and nothing else. She loves that. um she doesn't really like marinara sauce a lot on her pizza, and she doesn't eat meat. But when I order specifically for myself, usually it'll be pepperoni sausage, mushroom, and olives. That's usually my combo. I like
Well, getting your protein, getting your vegetables in there. I dig it, man. I dig
a
it.
little bit of everything. Yeah.
All right, so we can see over your left shoulder a replica of the X Division Championship. So
Yeah.
what's it been like being back in Impact, brother? And is that the Manic suit?
Yeah. This was actually
Is that the
this was
original?
the this was the suit. I Both of these cases have the model of title that I won at the time and the outfits I was wearing for the event. So this is the actual suicide suit that I wore for that pay-per-view when I got it at, I think it was Destination X, I think. Um, so yeah, that's the original, and this one is from the Cruiserweight Classic over here.
Dude, that's what's up. So you keep all the old gear?
Um, I don't keep it necessarily for display purposes. I didn't even like intend on displaying these at first. I just had them all in a box. Most of the guys, they sell all their stuff, and I always thought that maybe someday, like nieces and nephews or kids of my own will love like going through dad's old stuff, something like that someday. So I just keep all my stuff in a box. It just collects dust. So I do have almost all of my old stuff, but these are some of the ones that were more, I guess, prominent for those reasons. So I once I started setting up my office in here, I was persuaded to put them up. So I decorated a little bit, but I got all the old ones in my closet, like just
I'm
getting moth holes in them and stuff.
You're gonna need more. You're gonna need more cases for when you and Fallah Ball win those tag titles, man. What's it been
Yeah, I
like
know.
being back with Impact? What's it like teaming with him, bro?
I mean, it's honestly like the number one reason why I wanted to come to Impact, at least for creative reasons. Like I really wanted to work with him, not just because we share a culture, but like I thought he's I think still. I mean, he's such a unique performer. He's got a unique skill set, and he's just so talented, and he wasn't really being put in a position to use like 90% of his gifts. And so I really wanted to work with him for that reason, because I thought that I could you know do some good stuff with him and kind of help him out, but also like help myself out, because like I really wanted to do I for years I wanted to do tag team stuff, and obviously it gives me a chance to broaden the bridge like I'm trying to kind of create for my culture as well in wrestling. Having another Filipino and being able to do stuff like that, and it gets me out of some cruiserweight stuff, which is another thing. Like a lot of I get told all the time I have more to offer than that. Cruiserweight and junior stuff is in my heart, so I love it. But it's also an outlet for me to reach beyond that and sort of broaden my horizons a little bit.
No, yeah, absolutely, man. I heard in another interview you say that you guys get compared to Yokozuna and Owen, and just from the little Yokozuna Owen stuff I've seen, and from the little bit I've seen with you and Falaba, I'm like, okay, I could see it. I could see it there.
I mean, it's not a lot. I mean, there's been a few times where you get that I'll get that picture sent to me on a Tuesday when there's Impact on and we're got a tag match and stuff. There's usually always one or two people that will send posts to me. They're like, "Oh, you're like Yoko and Owen," and that's a huge compliment. I mean, I was always a big Owen Hart fan. He's incredible, you know, figure in wrestling history, and one of the greatest of all time. So I'm flattered to even. I, I definitely don't think people are comparing me directly to Owen
Yeah,
in that
it's
respect.
just the
But
idea.
yeah, but it is a flattering comparison nonetheless. And the dynamic between the two, I think, is really cool. And I know that Fala actually he digs a lot of Yoko's stuff, so it's a fun comparison.
Absolutely, man. So we've had a couple months to get used to it. The new or returning talent to Impact Wrestling, like EC3, the Good Brothers, Brian Myers, Heath. So what's been your thoughts about those guys coming in or coming back?
I mean, like this is sort of like I don't know, like phase three of like this long term plan that they've had to sort of change the trajectory of impacts, and that's the other primary reason why I chose to return to impact. It was really a no-brainer. Is just that like with the management that they have now taking over for old management, and there was a lot of things that were fine with old management. Don't get me wrong about that. I always enjoyed my time in TNA Impact, like anytime I've been there, but uh the current management has a very drastically different take on how to run the ship, and it's so great there. Everybody's all in one room. There's really no pyramid or hierarchy to it. The roster's incredible, and I think they've been diligently putting together a roster that's full of both young, unknown and ready to blow, like performers, and some veteran performers, and the right type of superstar performers that can help balance out the mix. And the women's division, the X division, the tag division, heavyweight division, it's all strong. Anybody can main event any given night. If you open one day, you can close the next day, like, and vice versa. Everybody's pretty interchangeable that way. And that's the type of balance I've not ever seen in a roster ever, anywhere I've ever been. And I like that a lot. And I just think that getting better, getting a better broadcasting setup, and getting the roster balanced and getting the right mix of people, and then now like getting an influx of new talent and like bigger names to round out, like they're really good about like balancing like the whole group that we got. And I love it. It's just the next progression of what they're doing.
Absolutely. I mean, you have people like Deanna Perrazzo, who's really getting a chance to show what she can do
Yeah.
from a technical wrestling aspect. A lot of people didn't know she could really do that. You have a guy like Heath, who's coming in hot, trying to get a contract. You have Moose, who's doing the whole real world's champion thing with the newly christened white strap TNA championship, which I think is absolutely badass. So, I mean, there's a lot of great
Yeah.
talent there, man. But I want to get your thoughts on wrestling in the pandemic era. Now, we've seen different companies do different things and similar things at most. I mean, I guess everybody's really adopted the Ring of Honor shot, the hard cam on the ramp, and you've had the companies like WWE have nobody there, and then finally get the trainees and wrestlers at ringside with plexiglass. You've seen AEW have people there basically during the whole pandemic, and they've started to bring back in real fans. But Impact, they haven't done that. Nobody's at ringside. Why do you think that's been the decision?
I think maybe just to not rush headfirst into a trend is probably the primary thing, which I actually really like, that being the case. Whether it's better to have, a partial crowd, a planted crowd, um, a virtual crowd, whatever the case may be. Uh, who knows? Obviously the ambiance of having, a responsive element is like that's missed, in general, especially this year amongst all the companies until everybody started finding their different fixes for it. And as a performer and a long time one, for this, like I've been doing this 22 years, man. Like that's the primary element that, like, when I give analogies, like I'm a quarterback and I'm reading the defense and running the 2-minute offense. Like, the defense is that crowd. That's what I'm reading. So that's a primary element in what we do as performers. So that it is sorely missed in that way. But I like that we don't just dive right into the same fixes other companies have. I think, and we have a really great studio too that we shoot in. So I actually think that some sort of virtual crowd setup, like the NBA bubble, for example, and like what then the Thunderdome kind of came from adopting that idea. Something like that might work out pretty cool because we have the technology and the resources to do it. So who knows if that'll be the next step, but who also, I mean, who knows, in the next 3 months crowds might be coming back to live shows more often now. So you see indies now running with some partial crowds and stuff like that. Some sporting events are having partial crowds available, overseas, and then domestically different states are opening up in different ways. So who knows? I mean, we might be past this before we really need to think of a specific fix. But I also liked the Saturday morning wrestling type studio setup that we've had for our show in particular. Like, I like that. Like, I grew up on that. I always thought that was great. And I still feel like the pay-per-views are like must see because of the type of talent and the stories that they're writing. Obviously, the last pay-per-view we had like new guys coming in. There was a lot of buzz behind that. So you felt like, oh, this is a big show. I got to see Slammiversary. I have to see what's going to happen, who's going to come in, who's not going to come in, that sort of thing. So I think having that studio Saturday morning type, like all ages type of wrestling show is kind of a breath of fresh air. Like, that's something that I think wrestling can go back to a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I watched Slammiversary as the first Impact pay-per-view I've watched in years, and the wrestling community, like, very positive overall towards it. For
Yeah.
years, people were like, "Impact, that's still a thing. They're still around. Like, what
Yeah.
what name are they going by this month or this day?" But it's been very
Right.
positive moving forward, and you guys have a great amount of talent there. And I think the no crowd atmosphere for Impact, it does work better. You see certain guys will talk more trash to kind of up their character, and you hit guys harder, so it really echoes throughout the place where you guys record. So I think it has worked in Impact's favor, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe like on the production end, like maybe some like volume balancing so that it doesn't feel as empty as it is. But I think the way that it's set up, it's so very studio like. It's like watching WCW Saturday Night, sort of, in a way. And I like that. I expressed my interest that even when crowds can return, if we can stay shooting at the studio and see if we can put a smaller studio audience in there and have that sort of like WCW Saturday Night type of atmosphere for the weekly show for a while, because I think that that's great. And it's very different from WWE, for example, like tiptoeing the whole, like, it's attitude era but it's not really attitude era type of, like, we need it, like, live wrestling, lots of promos and crowd interactions of this nature or whatever. AEW is a very raw, like, wrestling show. It's almost like ECW in a way. So there's a crowd element to there that's different from WWE, and more catered towards the diehard audience. I feel like Impact can have a totally different strike zone by keeping this like studio streamlined, like Saturday mornings type wrestling show. I think that would be awesome.
All right, absolutely, dude. So what's it been like wrestling for New Japan during this time? Over, I know they're doing shows. I think it's at the LA Dojo.
No, they're actually running this. God, it's like a theater, like event center in Port Hueneme. It's a beach city, for those that are not from LA, and it's a beach city kind of up north, just outside of LA. And they run it in there. I think that's the same place that Championship Wrestling from Hollywood runs, because it's right there, like just north of like Malibu, like that sort of North Hollywood area, a little bit further north. But and it's great. I mean, like, sort of the same idea as what I was saying about Impact, like the studio setup. it works for them and it's good. Like Japanese wrestling traditionally is a little bit more quiet anyway. A lot of times it's almost like watching tennis or golf. Like the reactions are extreme only in specific moments. So it kind of fits right into the week to week style of what like traditional pure racer was back in the day anyway. But the other thing that I like about it is because the length of the show, the way that it's built, it's so I think it's great programming. Like only 2 or 3 matches each week, not a lot of drama, just a little bit. So it's pretty concise. It's easy to kind of sit through, especially if you're a diehard fan. Like it's a very traditional feeling show. It's almost like watching World of Sport, like the old like British wrestling cards. Like I kind of feel like it's a lot like that. Um, but then the Japanese shows now have started to return sort of to normal for the most part. So I'm looking forward to them being able to put the roster together now that travel is starting to get more easy.
Absolutely. So, who have been some of your favorite opponents during these Japan shows in LA?
Well, we didn't really touch that much in the ring, but I got to get back in with Kenta a little bit. We haven't wrestled since obviously WWE. So that was kind of nice to get in with him and Jeff Cobb. I hadn't wrestled in years. Um, I've done a lot of teaming with some of the LA Dojo guys who are now like really breaking through that young lion stage. Clark Connors, who was my partner for the junior tag league last year in Japan. Carl Fredericks, who's now become like this heavyweight, breath of fresh air, like getting through like after the Young Lions Cup and everything. Now he's got his own look, and it's almost like a rebirth for him. And some returning guys. I mean, ACH is back, and that was cool. I got to wrestle alongside him. I believe we're tagging again this week on this episode on Friday. So it was cool. And then there's a lot of local guys that are kind of being introduced into the system now at a base level. Adrian Quest, Danny Limelight, the Regal twins, Barrett Brown. Like there's a lot of guys that I think are really talented. They're coming up on the base level and are going to start making waves, especially in the junior division.
Absolutely, man. I'm glad you mentioned guys like Carl Fredericks and Jeff Cobb. They had a great following here in the Bay Area, and they thrived in All Pro Wrestling, which you were part of King of the Indies for last year. That's how we met up and were able to start doing these. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's just great to see those guys who had their foot in the water here. Now they've gone on to achieve so much other success. Did you at that King of Indies show? Did you see anybody else from like the APW roster that you think, oh yeah, in a couple years they're going to be at this level?
Let me see. It'd been so long since I've been back to APW, or just in the Bay Area in general. Having been away for like WWE and TNA for so long. But I mean, I remember meeting Carl, for example, years before, like before I had gone to WWE. I remember meeting him also up north in the Bay because he's a Reno guy, so like he'll come across and wrestle over there. And I remember thinking then, like, this guy's gonna do some great stuff. There's other guys too that I had always thought that for the longest time should have been scooped up somewhere just because they're so unique and so talented. Like Reno Scum, for example, who are now like in the tag division and Impact. Thornstowe, I wrestled him so many times over the years. And Luster's partner is such an overlooked big man. I think he's so good at being that role. And obviously, I mean, they that tournament they matched me up with a hell of an opponent. He's not a Bay Area guy, but Gresham, obviously, people know he's incredible. He was in the J Cup last year, so. But yeah, I believe somebody's trying to deliver something to my door.
It's great. It makes it real, it makes it fresh.
But yeah, and I was supposed to return actually to the Bay Area right before the pandemic hit. There was a
Yeah,
show scheduled, yeah, and
we
I was
were
going to come
uh
up and
we were supposed to do this in person.
yeah, I was looking forward to coming back for that, especially something that wasn't going to be such a ensemble show because obviously like King of the Indies, like that was such an ensemble show with the guys that they brought in. But I was looking forward to getting back and just kind of seeing what the next generation of Bay Area guys was gonna be like.
Hey man, well once everything gets back to whatever the new normal is going to be, I'm sure Marcus Mack, promoter of APW, is going to be running shows again, and hopefully we get to see you back here in the Bay Area.
Absolutely.
All right. As we kind of wind down here, I want to get some thoughts on like what's your motivation in wrestling? You've been doing this for 22 years, as you said. Like, what motivates you? Who motivates you in wrestling to just keep the grind going? Because I know some guys they'll do it for a while and then they'll just kind of like take a little hiatus, then come back in here and there.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, having fun is really just a motivating factor. I mean, it's something that I sort of got wrapped up in the first 10 years of my career. Didn't look past it, so I didn't know what a career was. It was just having fun. Then like for people that have followed me for so long, I was homeless for a little while, kind of lost all of that. Um, and I feel like it's because I was too focused on that and not understanding what a career was. But then, rebuilding everything, getting back on track and prioritizing the right way, understanding how to be a proper businessman, how to be a better businessman, learning a lot, like for example, a lot of the stuff we talked about in the beginning, stuff like that started to become more relevant to me. And then I kind of learned that, I have to have fun. Like that's, you don't have anything else at the end of the day. Like everything else will come and go, but you got to be able to have fun. And I like that. And I like, this game is really down to a science for me now. So I never stressed very much in the beginning anyway, but I certainly don't stress or worry about anything now. And it's a lot of fun being able to apply myself and all this, years of experience and really, actually play quarterback for a lot of guys and to help other guys come up. That's a motivating factor for me too. I never really thought of myself as a teacher, but as I've gotten older, and it's been told to me for so many years, a decade maybe, that like, hey, you should teach. And I always thought, that's for old guys, But now I'm starting to see the value in what God had given me, he put me on this path for a reason. He's kept me on this path for this amount of years for a reason. Now it's like, that's a good purpose, to be able to pass that along and help other guys.
Absolutely, man. Now we're gonna get to the rapid fire portion of the interview. It's the list of it is favorites. So with that being said, here we go. Favorite wrestler of all time.
Oh, Eddie.
Okay, he's in my top 10. One of the most charismatic performers in the history of the business. Absolutely, dude. Favorite match you've ever had.
Um, CMLL anniversary show, 70th anniversary show.
Who'd you wrestle on that?
Myself, Rocky Romero, and this guy by the name of Bobby Quantz. So if you're a Bay Area fan for a long time, you might know who Bobby Quantz is. And we wrestled Virus Volador and Ricky Marvin. And we had a feud with them in CMLL pretty much all year long. One of our first matches there was in Arena Mexico on the weekly show with them. We lit it up, so then that became like the feud of the year down there. And this was back in 2003. I was only 18 years old. Just had started with New Japan, got shipped off to Mexico, lived there for that year basically. And we were winning these awards and getting like such buzz and kind of changing the culture of how matches are done with that. It's so funny because I know this is rapid fire, but like it's kind of a small story, I guess. Is like you hear a lot of times about guys like older wrestlers giving younger wrestlers flack, and then the chain continues and continues and continues. And this is like such a prime example. We were shredded by people like, you guys are circus performers. This is bad. This is blah 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 blah. And it was like soon after that, you had the whole generation of like the Young Bucks and like the Machine Gun and guys that are doing matches that are like the same style, like this rapid fire, like very like high paced, high tempo matches. And that wasn't around, before that, especially on the US Indies. And that's something that we kind of contributed to on accident. And the octopus hold and flying arm bars, nobody wanted that old junk before. But then me and Rocky were doing it, and I think small guys and good athletes saw what they can do with it. And then you got this whole generation of Zack Sabers and Greshams and Gulaks and stuff like that. And I'm proud to have been part of that stuff at that time. So that's really my favorite match, probably.
All right. Favorite wrestling gimmick? Is it like a Gold Dust, a Razor Ramon, a Repo Man, a Max Moon, an Isaac Yankem?
Mm, La Parka.
Okay. I
Yeah,
dig it. I dig it,
I like
man.
La Parka.
All right. Favorite Blink 182 song?
Oh, damn it.
Okay. I dig it.
Yeah.
I'm a I miss you guy.
I uh I actually have that on my arm. My Blink tattoo has I can't do this. My Blink tattoo has the Jack and Sally lyric, and has Skellington as the face for the CD,
That's what's up,
the
man.
album cover. Yeah.
Have you gotten any new ink since we did this last year?
Oh yeah, I've probably had a ton. Let me see. I don't think I had this Kobe piece on my tricep back here. This was sort of like newer. And I'm trying to think what else I got. And I got a lot more like fill and stuff on this arm, like flowers and different things. I got Han Solo's gun on the inside of my arm here. There's a little bit colored in the roses on the sugar skull, and then I got this more detailed chest and shoulder piece up here around this my birthday.
Yeah, birthday was what, last week?
Yeah, this
Happy,
last week.
happy belated birthday, brother.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you getting pretty covered up there, man.
Yeah, I got to do some more on this shoulder maybe, and then I gotta pick a new spot, I guess. Juice Robinson has these cool like calf sleeves. I kind of wanted to move on to that.
That's what's up, dude. All right, last one. Favorite Nirvana song?
uh, Serve the Servants.
Ooh, okay,
Yeah,
okay. I
it's
dig it.
great. It's great social commentary for how human beings are today. You know.
Hey, I'm down with it. I don't think I've ever actually heard that one. I'm gonna have to go check it out. All right, well, that's gonna wrap this up. TJ, thank you so much for doing this, man. Where can the people find you?
Well, I'm not too broad with my socials, but I got Twitter and Instagram. You can find it at MegaTJP. My Twitch is also MegaTJP, and that's really my trifecta of what I got going. So if you're listening and you're already following, thank you. Again, I've always said without you, there's no me. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate you following and all the support. And if you want to follow me, then please do. Especially on Twitch, it'll help motivate me to to stream more often. So, but yeah, thank you very much, everybody for watching and for listening and for following along.
Absolutely, man. I mean, I think I told you this last time we did this. Suicide was one of my favorites when I used to watch TNA on a regular basis, and then watching you come over to WWE winning the Cruiserweight title. That was super cool, man. So, I mean, you've been one of my favorites for quite some time. It's been awesome to see your career just keep growing and growing, and I want to see you and Follow win those tag titles pretty soon.
I would like to see it as well. And thank you very much, brother. I appreciate that.
No problem. Ladies and gentlemen, TJ Perkins, thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you very much, brother.